Welcome to another episode of My Pastor Said. I am JJ Simmons. On the show today, we have a very special guest who I actually have never met before. And this will be our first time getting to know him. I do know this. He is the pastor of Worship Encounter Church. And I know that he has a lovely wife named Raven.
Yes, Raven.
Yes. And we will talk about her too. Please welcome Pastor Devon Johnson to the show.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing excellent.
I haven't met your wife. Usually everyone on the show, I've met their wife.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to meet her soon, though.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to pop in at the church.
Come on. To be honest with you, she'll probably be at a church that you're visiting before you would actually see her at our church. She's everywhere. She's at another church tonight. She likes to pop around
and see everybody.
That's all she does is sing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate
like
it.
I said, you're the first person to sit in this chair who I've never met before.
I appreciate that.
So I'm going to try to make this as awkward as possible for you.
Awkward is where I live.
Because that's what I do.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm fine with it. Light-skinned people handle awkward well. You see how the light-skinned people when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock? Oh, light-skinned people were like...
They actually do. So your wife, Raven, is she pastor of the church also?
Yeah, she's co-pastoring with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always wanted to ask this question when it comes to that, because I see at some churches there's like the first lady.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing more these days is that the wife of the pastor is also a pastor, or what is she like, or like, does she really preach, or give me the role of like why I'm starting to see this more often?
Well, it's a shift. It also comes from really how you're birthed into ministry. So she grew up predominantly Baptist. Her dad's been the pastor of the church for like over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So her mom was first lady, very traditional.
Okay. Yeah.
Also grew up in a church where women were not allowed to be in the pulpit and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's been a renaissance, really, or more of a revival of women empowerment as people begin to study scripture and things like that. So then there's been given more responsibility to women. My wife is very much a worship leader, very much a worship pastor. So I was ordained about 5 years before her.
Okay.
And then she was ordained as a worship pastor. And so even at our church, I don't touch it. I don't know what the songs are going to be till Sunday. None of that stuff. She organizes, she pastors the people. An incredible group of people. So her job really is a worship pastor.
Got you.
But then she's also started taking on other roles of pastoring other groups within the church. So she just kind of does a lot of the things that I don't do.
Okay.
And so she really helps me. I could not pastor without her. I'll say that.
That's good. Yeah. Well, give her a shout out.
Absolutely. I love you, babe. I'll be home. I'll be home.
So since I don't know a whole lot about you, I know you roll with some good people, because I do know Pastor Matt.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's the one who told me, say, you got to get Pastor Devon on the show. He's cool people. I was like, well, if you know him, then I'll definitely holler at him. But I would like to know a little bit about, your calling and how you got involved.
Absolutely.
Being pastor.
Well, I'm not a native Houstonian like Matt.
Okay.
In fact, I think our relationship is like maybe a year or two old, but we've been here since the day before Hurricane Harvey. I don't know what year that was.
That was 2018?
18?
I think it was 17 or 18.
One of those years. So we were like the day before.
Wow. Gosh.
Yeah.
Welcome to the city.
Listen, we got baptized for real. That's heavy water, troubled waters. But we actually came out here. We were pastors at our previous church, our home church with Pastor Charles and Andrea Humphrey. It's called Hope's House.
Okay.
And that's really where I kind of learned ministry. I grew up Baptist as well, but ours was very unorthodox.
Yeah.
Our pastor wore a cape and jumped over walls, and it was all kind of crazy stuff.
All right.
But
we won't see that at your church.
You won't see that at my church unless I feel really good.
Okay.
Really good. But no, I actually grew up as like a musician. I was a piano player in the whole nine, and we would do in church every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I think the only day we didn't go to church was Monday.
Really?
Literally.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was raised by my grandparents, so they were very Southern, very traditional. So we were at church all the time. Ended up going out to college, where I became a college pastor there. That's at Hope's House. And loved it. Fell in love with ministry there.
Yeah.
I also fell in love with theology because my grandmother, she ended up getting severely hurt in a car accident. So she was kind of bedridden for like majority of my teenage years.
Wow.
That's when she decided she wanted to go to schools when she couldn't get up and do all that. So she was going for her doctorate of divinity.
Woo! My goodness.
Yeah, she was going for it. And the school she was going to was in England. So she was doing everything by mail. So this is before the internet.
Oh my gosh.
So she was mailing her dissertation back and forth. So anybody who's ever done the doctorate program, you're doing your dissertation for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So she didn't know how to type. So she bought a word processor, and she would talk to me, and I would type all her stuff out.
Wow.
So that's how I fell in love with theology.
This looks like a movie. I'm like, this
it's real weird.
Series,
It's real weird. Yeah. So and it's really wild. So I would learn a lot just by sitting with her, and she'd be having these high level conversations, and I didn't understand half of it.
Yeah.
But I would type it out, but by the time I got to college, my head was just filled with half of the stuff she wrote.
Yeah.
So I just fell in love with theology. I fell in love with people, and then we got the call to come out to Texas.
Yeah.
And we loved it. As soon as we got out here, we loved the city.
Yeah.
And then
me too.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. And so we ended up getting the call to plant a church. Wow. And so, the name was really weird. I had like a dream. It was a really, really, really weird dream. I actually have never told this testimony.
Please, I want to hear this.
This is the first time I've ever told anybody.
Now, let me tell you this. Let me preface this before
Okay.
you say this. I am a person, I truly believe, and I haven't tapped into this, but I believe, much like Daniel, that God calls me to speak to people about dreams. Like I have dreams.
Oh, really?
They absolutely. So I'm all about dreams, but I haven't tapped into it yet.
Okay.
But anyway, so yes,
I pray
please,
God
so
give you.
I'm all about
I need
hearing some
interpretation because to this day I cannot tell you what this dream has to do with anything with the church. But I was driving down. So in California, the 10 freeway's out there too. I was driving down the 10. And my boy was in the car with me, and I just decided I was going to drive off of the bridge.
Oh.
And I drove off the bridge, and we ended up in this neighborhood in the cul-de-sac in the hood.
Oh.
And I recognized this hood because I had been in this particular spot, and all of these gangbangers came out, and they started getting active and beating up on the car. So I got out. We started squabbing. And
did you watch New Jack City the night before?
I promise you I did. I watched Martin. That was it. I fell asleep to Martin. And I just remember we were squabbing, and then my friend was like, "Hey, man," and he pointed. And when he pointed, I looked over and I was like, "Oh, okay, bet." And we just started walking away from the fight like nothing happened. And then I woke up and all I heard, it was 5:23 in the morning. I remember that specifically. And all I kept hearing was "We church, we church, we church."
Yeah.
And I was like, "We church?" And none of it made sense. And then literally God began to I saw what our program looked like.
Wow.
I saw what our bulletin looked like. I saw what our logo looked like, all of it.
Wow.
And I woke my wife up that morning and I was like, I think God just gave us a name for a church.
Woo.
And I tried to tell her the dream and she was like, "Please go back to bed." She's like, "Please go back to bed. You ate something. Like you clearly ate something."
When you eat late, that
But
can
here's
happen.
what's wild. So then like that same week, right? So remember, I had the logo in my head.
Yeah.
That same week, I'm messing on my phone trying to figure out how to make this logo. And she's sitting at the table eating Mexican food and she's just drawing on a napkin.
Oh my goodness. This is
And
too
then
much.
she goes, "Hey, babe, what do you think about this as a logo?"
And you were like, "That is it."
And I looked at her, I was like, "I don't know what you ate." But this is wild. And so that's literally our logo to the church to this day. Was she drew it out. And so that's kind of our nothing really makes sense in the grand scheme, but
Can't understand that dream.
Yeah.
Give me some time though. I might hit you in a couple of months and be like, "So what this was? The bridge represents, okay,
Yes.
connecting."
yeah.
No. Worship encounter.
Yeah.
It's so appealing. Like I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds like a place I need to be." It's
Yeah.
like I'm all about, obviously having these encounters with the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I think of when
Mm.
I hear it. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh yes, Jesus is gonna be here."
That's the goal. That's actually the exact foundation of our thought in that is that a lot of our people have grown up in church, but they had so much of an encounter with the culture of the church and never with Christ.
Mhm.
And so we just believe when we look through the scriptures, there were so many different examples of people who just hit the Samaritan woman.
Yeah.
There's no background that would say, "Oh, you and Christ should go together."
Yeah.
And they have an encounter with him, they have a conversation with him, and everything changes.
Yeah.
So we just believe we can give you protocol and we can give you all that stuff, but if we can give you an encounter first,
Yeah.
that will
That's
hold you more than my programming, my
Oh,
good
yeah.
children's church, any of that.
Yes. Yes.
And then
yes.
the word encounter, as our mentor was telling us, the actual word means to come against.
Mm.
And so the idea is that if I'm introducing you to Christ and having an encounter with him, then there's something on the inside that he's coming against, not in an evil way,
Yeah.
but more in a way of, I want to challenge you from where you are to where I believe you should be.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so for many people, what we're trying to do is create an environment where God can challenge them in that moment.
Yes.
So maybe you're living in doubt. can God challenge you to operate in faith in that season?
Yes.
Or maybe you've been
That's good.
struggling with addiction for years.
Yeah.
But you've been struggling in silence.
Yeah.
Can I give you an encounter that will make you want to confess to your brother, which according to scripture will bring healing. So it's just create the environment and let the Holy Spirit do whatever. In fact, when we first started, the first 4 months, I didn't even preach.
Really?
Yeah, well, because every time we would get into worship,
oh, that would just take over.
Yeah, we would have an altar call coming out of that because it was clear God was challenging in the room.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer, once Holy Spirit starts speaking,
oh, that's it.
I don't know what I had prepared, but it ain't gonna mess that.
It doesn't even matter, right?
So,
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, so that's kind of been the culture of our church, and we've been really in love with how God's been moving.
I love that. And what side of the town?
We're in Stafford right now.
Stafford. Oh,
we're in Stafford. So we are, next year, we are actually getting ready to buy our first building.
Oh, nice.
So we're just looking to find what part of the city to be in. But Stafford has been our home. We've been renting from a church called Vineyard Church.
Okay.
And they've been so gracious and kind. And we've been there Sunday nights at 5 p.m.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. So you got here during Hurricane Harvey. You planted this church. And then COVID comes. Just a couple of years later, right?
We planted during COVID.
Oh, during COVID. Okay.
Our papers were official during COVID. So there's a part I left out. We actually got called by a church to come out and to come help them at their ministry. And a great church, wonderful people. And we ended up parting ways about a year in.
Okay.
And then we felt the call immediately after that. Like God was like, all right, it's time.
Yeah.
So by 2020, we were like, all right, we'll do it. And
then COVID happened.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I know 2020 was probably a bad year for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
But those 3 months in which we started the process in January. Now I remember this. We started the process in January. I was in the parking lot of Little Caesars talking to our lawyer in Detroit who was telling me all the stuff I need to turn in for our paperwork. Yeah. And that's when I got the tweet that Kobe had died. The following week, I found out my grandmother had died.
Oh my goodness.
And then the next month in February, my biological mother had passed away out of nowhere.
Oh my God.
And so then I'm flying back to bury. I had to preach my biological mother's funeral. So I'm flying out there. When I land to do that, my grandmother who raised me, she had 2 strokes while I was in the air. Oh. And they were like, hey, you need to come see her after the funeral because this is it.
Oh God.
So I ended up seeing her for the last time. She passed like 3 days after I left California. And this was all by like March. So by the time we planted the church in June, I was like, now listen, like I appreciate the story of Job. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I don't need all that. Just listen. Yeah, just help me plant. Yes. And now I'm sorry. Yes. So that was a really crazy year. And so obviously, you couldn't meet. So everything was online for us. So
I'm so glad you said this too, because can we talk about Job for a second?
Yeah.
Because I can imagine in that situation when you're seeing these things happen back to back to back to back. Obviously, not on the level of Job, right? But still, it feels very Job-ish.
Very.
when you're going through it.
Yeah.
And yet there's an assignment that you have. And I really feel it's so tough for people to keep going on this assignment.
Yeah.
When the world, like everything is just coming at you like, goodness, great. Can I just get a break? Because this is what happens. Some people say it must not be meant for me to do this, right?
It's a sign.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
So how do you determine whether it is a keep going moment or it's time to shut this down? Like this ain't supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's a great question. If you read the book of Job, the reason why it's so long is because his conversation never stopped.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Out of everything that was going wrong, the only thing he had was conversation with God, which if you look at the polar opposite with Peter, when he's walking on the water, people keep talking about him looking at the elements and that's why he started sinking when he was walking on water. Yeah. That's not it. He started having a conversation with Jesus from the boat. He said, if this is you, tell me to come out. The minute he gets out on the water and starts walking, he stops talking.
That's good.
So what held us, really what kept us going was all of the constant tragedy in our life forced me into the place of conversation with God. Yeah. And that constant conversation was like, the only thing that made sense was the assignment at that point.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that was even remotely moving in a progressive way. Everything else felt like it was loss. This was the one thing that felt like gain. And the constant conversation with God is really what kept the assignment at the forefront. So,
wow, that's good. Yeah. Staying connected is what helps you to so-called keep your eye on the prize.
Yep.
Because what happens is people get so frustrated that they lose the connection because it's like, I'm angry. I'm mad. I can't believe you have me going through this, right? And then I'm done. So you started online, which I wanted to talk to you about because I was thinking about how a lot of people are just like, I'm fine with just doing church online. Like, I don't need to show up. I don't need to go to anybody. And and I'm gonna be real with you.
That's real.
Okay. Because during COVID, well, maybe like right before COVID, I started watching Transformation Church, Pastor Mike Todd. And someone just happened to send me one of his messages, and I was just like, oh, okay. And it was, when you get a message at the right time, you're like, that was for me.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, so then, I really became active. I started doing small groups.
Yeah.
But as time went on, I was desiring community.
Yeah, like in-person community.
Yeah, like
tangible.
I need to like this isn't just like I need to be around people.
Yeah.
Like, where's my people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that became the struggle.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to know, like, for those who may be watching who are like, I'm good watching you online or whoever online. Like, I don't have to be at a church. I love Jesus. I'm getting my word in.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say to them? What encouragement do you
I completely understand it. This is what we found. The pandemic was a escape for church people. So true, especially in the Black church, because most of the people that we had encountered had never had a Sunday off. They were always at church, always serving, yada, yada. So the pandemic was the one time they had a chance to not serve, not go, and hear something different than their home church.
Oh, yeah.
So people have been hearing their pastor for years.
Yeah.
So when you stop hearing that, and you can go online to YouTube, and a plethora of churches, Elevation, Transformation, all great places.
Yeah.
You're getting a chance to consume different spiritual food for the first time. So it's like when I first came out here, and I remember the first time my wife and I came and visited, and we tasted Bluebell.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
You can't do anything else after
we go back to California, we're like, I don't know what y'all on.
Right.
But Bluebell is it. That's what church people were doing.
Yeah.
Is that they were getting a taste of online, and they were like, wait a minute, I'm getting fed. I'm getting a word I understand.
Yeah.
I'm changing. I'm praying more, and I don't have to serve.
Yeah.
Bet. I'm in it.
Yeah.
And so the pandemic opened that up. And then what happened was when the pandemic started to kind of release the restrictions a little bit, people started going out to brunch. So now they were replacing their Sunday regimen with brunch and stuff like that. So they were finding their community outside of church in spaces together, but then they were finding their spirituality at home isolated without community.
Yeah.
So they were getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So that has been, honestly, the struggle for a lot of people is, why should I go back to a system that, if I'm being honest, many people for the first time, they realized they were being abused. Their pastor would go on a whole sabbatical during the summer.
Yeah.
But you better not miss.
Right.
You better not miss. I need you for children's church. I need you for yada, yada.
Yeah.
And so the people are like, why would I go back to an abusive system?
Yeah.
Well, now I can go have time with my friends. I can go get my spirituality. And so what I want to encourage people is that I don't want them to lose out on the essence of what it's supposed to be. Not what you experience, what it's supposed to be. There is something tangible about being amongst community that you can't get online.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoyed online, because mind you, because we started online, I did not meet most of our members for a year. I didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
We have a woman at our church named Rosemary. We call her Mama Rose. She's amazing.
Yeah.
We met because she just started tuning in. And about 3 months into us doing Bible studies online, her son died.
Oh, man.
So she was like, my pastor's going to come do my son's funeral. That's what she's telling everybody. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
Oh.
So I show up, and the first time me and her tangibly see each other is when I'm burying her son.
Oh, gosh.
But me showing up for her meant more than anything I would do online.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can't show up for you online the way I can in real life.
Right.
And that level of community sparked a movement for us. Then she started telling everybody, this is my pastor. And literally, when we had our first church service, we went from like 27 people to like almost 200 people.
Wow.
Because there's something about tangibly showing up
Yep.
that you just can't get. So now every time you walk into the church, the first person who's going to hug you is Mama Rose, because she understands that you have probably not been touched or hugged.
Yes.
All week.
Oh, yeah.
And she'll hug you. She won't say nothing.
Oh.
That's the benefit of community.
Yeah.
I can't hug you.
Right.
Or if I'm looking at you and I say, hey, how you doing? You go, I'm fine. And I go, okay, now tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And we go off in a corner and we have to have a conversation because your life is in shambles right now.
Yeah.
You don't get that touch online.
And I feel like people don't even realize what they're missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we just become so accustomed to it now,
Right.
especially when you look at like the statistics. I think they said like 89% of churches were now moved to push to go online after the pandemic. Whereas before you had like something like 30% of churches were online. And
Can I tell you the truth? I'm gonna let you in behind the curtain.
Yeah.
When during the pandemic, the pastors saw something incredible in their financials. Okay, because we're not meeting, my overhead is low.
Oh,
but people are still giving.
Yeah.
So you mean I can still collect a high offering? I probably shouldn't be saying
Interesting.
this.
No, this is good.
I can collect a high offering
Yeah.
online, but people don't even go here, and they'll just give.
Wow.
And it supplements what I'm missing inside the
Yeah.
house. So really, I've just found a way for dual income for the church, which I'm not saying is wrong.
Yeah.
But a lot of the pastors, it wasn't like, oh, I want to reach out.
That
They have
wasn't the
nothing planned for
intention.
online. They have none of
Interesting.
that.
That's interesting.
The financials just shifted. A
Yeah.
lot of churches shut down because they just structure. But there are a lot of churches who financially prospered during that season.
Interesting.
They really did. I hate saying that. I
No,
feel
but
bad saying
but
it's the truth. So yeah. So like when
We
we
need
come
to
back
know.
together again, why would I eliminate this?
right.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Why
yeah.
I still have this.
Yeah.
And so for us, because of the way our services are structured, it's easier for people to come because we meet at night, right?
Mhm.
We were meeting once a month. We're moving to 2 times a month.
Oh, nice.
So people, they can kind of come and they don't feel that same regimen of every week.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, if we were to just shut down online, it would have a direct impact on how we even do ministry inside our
Dang.
church. I guarantee it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that people can connect from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Like people you may not have been able to reach,
Right.
right? But as a person who has been all about
Yeah.
online, and trust me, I've gone through, I hate saying, ooh, it sounds bad to say, like I've gone through so many churches, but I've gone to a lot of churches. I've
Yeah.
been in Houston for 11 years.
Oh.
And when I first started, I attended a church and I was like, it's nice. It's a popular church, but I'm not feeling fed.
Right.
Right. So I became a church hopper. Okay.
Yeah.
And I started just hopping over, and there were some things we talked about this earlier. I was like, that scared me. I don't know what that is. So I'm going to leave. And then I just started going to different places. But what I found was this desire to just mesh everyone together. There were certain things that I could find, like the children's church was amazing at this place.
Yep.
And that matters because I
Yeah.
need my daughter to get fed too.
Yeah.
But at the other church, they playing Uno during children's church. And I'm like,
My
that's
fine.
not going to happen.
Not Uno.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but I loved, like I went to a small church where it was only 30 people. And I loved being able to walk into a church and everybody knows each
everybody.
other. And we
Mhm.
go out to eat after church and there's real fellowship, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, I just wish I could squish all of these
All of them
churches
together.
together.
Yeah.
And I'm 40, how old am I now? 46.
Hey, man. You don't look it, by the
Thank
way,
you.
at all. No
Thank you
look
very
for it.
much.
Yeah.
I'm 46. And yet I've grown up in this in the hip hop world.
Come on.
I don't like to dress up. Can I be honest with you?
I'm with you.
Okay. I do not like to dress up. And there are churches that I've really been a part of where if I'm not dressed up,
It's a problem.
it is. And I'm like, dang, I love the word here. But there's also this all eyes are on me if I walk in with, what I have on right now, right? It's
Right.
some sneakers or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I just feel like, there became this point where there was the come as you are.
Yeah.
Like you started hearing it more, come as you are, come as you are. And I'm like, but is it really come as you are?
That's a tough, for a church to truly have that is extremely tough. So even at our home church, because I was doing college ministry, in California, we had the third most diverse campus at Cal State Northridge. So all of the schools in California, we had the most diversity. So every year I would get crazy people coming in. So we had Bible study on Tuesday night and I'd invite them to Sunday service. And I won't say the young man's name, but he was a cross-dresser.
Oh, okay.
And he was, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, I know he made a lot of people uncomfortable at our Bible study.
Yeah.
But he was my heart, man, because
Yeah.
he really wanted Jesus. Like
yeah,
that's all he wanted.
Yeah.
And I remember he would come to church on Sunday cross-dressing.
Yeah.
And I would tell our leaders and I would tell the ushers, don't bother him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let him come.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I can't tell somebody to come to church and then give them a prerequisite.
Right.
Like all of a sudden, like it's good enough here.
Yeah.
It's not good enough here.
Yeah.
And so, at the same time, I want to be very clear. There are some things you just can't do, right?
Yeah.
You can't walk in chest naked
Right.
into the church.
Please don't.
But you can't do that in any public space, right? But I think to come as you are, you really have to train the culture to say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the hardship
Yeah.
or the barrier for someone getting to Christ.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Now, once they get to Christ and they've given their lives over, we can disciple and talk about all that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're trying to get to him,
Yeah.
and this is where you think you're going to find him,
Yeah.
clear the way.
Yeah.
Clear the way.
I remember a lady teasing me. I walked into church and I had some jeans with, holes in them and stuff. And she was like,
I know you.
and I mean, when I tell you I wanted to run out of the church because I was like, but she was playing. The thing when she was playing, I didn't know she was playing. And I was just, I was just kidding. And I was like, you don't understand. Like, people do this. All right.
Yo.
And I'm like, this is so awkward.
When we first left the first church, we spent about 3 months at Hope City. Out here.
Yeah.
And so let me just tell you what blew my mind about Hope City. We were pulled up. They had a satellite campus over in Katy where we live. And so we were going it was a Saturday night. So my wife and I were going to go. And so we pulled up in the parking lot. We're like, all right, this is dope. And we started walking in and we saw this older black couple, suited and booted. I mean, 3-piece, hat the whole nine. And I looked at my wife and I said, this can't be this. This can't be. No, not with the greeters out with full denim and hoodies. I said, this can't be. And we walked in the church. And it literally, you saw people in suits.
Everything.
All
the things.
And I looked at my wife, I said, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like.
That is.
Like, if you want to wear a suit, you should feel completely comfortable.
Yeah.
But if you want to wear a hoodie and sweats and all that stuff, come on in.
Yeah.
And I saw that for the first time and it opened my eyes because I grew up Baptist as well.
Yeah.
And you ain't wearing no jeans.
No.
Not even on Youth Sunday. Not even on Youth Sunday. You coming in dressed like Fred Hammond and all them, but you ain't coming in with no jeans. And so, watching that now, I think is great. I think more churches are becoming more about that.
Yeah.
But even what you said earlier about trying to bring as many together, it's hard.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard. I think every church has a mission. That is specific to that church. We call it missiological. You have a mission based upon where you are and the congregation and the people. So there are some churches that are called to that where they only have people who wear suits, and that's the congregation you're called to.
Yeah.
But then there are others you're called to a different thing. So I pray that people, even like you,
church hop.
You're not. You see a church hop. I don't think you're church.
Find the church.
I call it a church connoisseur.
I'm gonna do it like a church trolley, and we're gonna just go to different churches.
There's a young lady on TikTok. That's her whole TikTok. She
Are
just
you
goes.
serious?
She goes to various churches and she gives the pros and cons about what she experienced. And she puts it out. She's like, she said, I basically visit these churches so that you don't have to, or you can make the decision.
You have to send me her
I will.
Instagram.
She's a wonderful young lady, and she travels all over.
Like people who try food and stuff at
like
different places.
Of churches. Yeah. She does that, but I appreciate that because there's so many churches in Houston.
I mean, it's a lot of church. That's why I was surprised when you're talking about like how many people don't have a church home, and you're like,
they don't want to.
Because it's churches everywhere.
Well, there's churches everywhere. I think one of the biggest things that people know, they immediately feel when they walk in is whether or not this church is a brand, or a community.
Yeah.
So if this is something that's just, which is why I kind of appreciate Mike Todd a lot. As big as that church is, it doesn't feel brandish as much as it feels. That's like a nation of transformation.
Yeah.
There's some churches where you walk in, the pastor's a celebrity.
Yeah.
You already know, like the worship leader is going to be a specific person. Is going to have, it's going to have that flavor of celebrityism and things like that. And when people see that, I'm out, man. I'm out. I don't want to do that.
I got to go. Yeah. It's interesting too. I saw a guy. Oh, let me get her name. Pastor. Well, she doesn't go by Pastor. Jackie.
Oh, Jackie Hill Perry.
Jackie Hill Perry. Her husband was on. Oh, really? Oh, really?
I mean,
I've never heard her preach in person.
She's amazing, but the way they started.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they were in LA.
Yeah.
There was a church that started called Passion for Christ Movement. It was all poetry. It was all poetry.
Really?
Every service was like a slam night.
Oh, shut
but
up.
It was the hottest thing. It was the hottest church in LA.
Oh my
God. By far. That's where they all went. Ezekiel, all they were all at the same, genetics, all of them at the same spot.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so that's where they kind of came. She actually came and did some college.
She's a great poet.
She's a rapper, poet, all of that.
All the things. Yeah.
And to watch her evolution though has been amazing.
Oh yeah.
Because what's funny is most people go from being super churchy to way more relaxed.
Right.
She was much more relaxed and it's become a little bit more
churchy.
More churchy. But
but
even her, right?
Yeah.
Like she wouldn't call herself a pastor.
Yeah.
I think she was at a church. She may be at a church now. I think she was at a church in Chicago when she was living there. But even then, they were having a problem trying to find a church because when they came in, the whole church was suited towards poets.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you leave that ministry?
Oh yeah, it's hard.
It's
hard. That's what I'm saying.
It's hard. It's difficult.
That's kind of dope though.
It is. I was there when they got engaged.
Oh really? Shut up.
They used to do a big poetry conference every year, and Preston got up and killed this poem.
Wow.
At the end, he kind of did this big surprise where it was all about her.
Yeah.
That's
so sweet.
And I was like, this is really.
Oh, I hope that I get to meet her. Some of my friends have met her. I haven't met her yet.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. I do want to debate with her on a topic though.
What's that?
On the Enneagram. I would love to.
She's firmly against that.
Yeah,
she's firmly
I know
against
she
that.
is.
She's firmly against that.
And
yeah.
I don't know. I love the Enneagram, but I would love to. But I would love to sit and debate with her just to learn more.
And that's what's great. I think, to be honest, about our culture and even our generation, is that we are challenging things that we hear.
Yeah.
And I think those conversations are a ministry in and of itself.
Yes.
It really is.
It really is.
When Beyonce came to town, I had more DMs about, am I allowed to go? I'm serious.
Yeah.
And on one side, I was like, I appreciate it because you probably have never asked that question in your life.
Right.
And on the flip side, I don't want you to think that I am going to give you the permission. I don't give you permission. I'm not the authority for that.
Right.
So then we start having debate and conversation about it. And I'll let you come up with your own.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think church is far more about, let's have conversation.
Yes.
And let's see so for our church, we have a thing called non-essentials. So we have things that, what we believe, these are things that we don't move on. And then we have non-essentials.
Yeah.
And moves everything from politics to sexuality.
Yeah.
And we encourage conversation.
Yeah.
The one rule we have is that your conversation cannot block Christ. That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You have a conversation,
yeah.
but Christ has to be at the center.
Yeah.
And you may walk away going, we just don't agree.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because I can see how with different conversations, both sides can go to the word and be able to say, this is proof right here.
Right.
So I love the idea that we should have those conversations and we should be able to back up our thoughts or our methods by going to the word and saying, well, this is why I say this, not just pulling stuff out.
And people don't realize that's how the church was birthed. When it said thousands were added that day, there was no structure or understanding.
Yeah.
So when the people first started coming in, the people who had been Jewish all their life were like, oh, everybody has to get circumcised.
Yeah.
It's in the scripture.
Yeah.
So like 30-year-old men, their new members orientation was going over and getting cut up. So it was a whole conversation like, wait a minute, this is not fair. They had to have a whole debate about, okay, I know what the Torah says, but what are we going to do with these people?
Yeah.
And they had to come up with something. There was no Bible for them.
Right.
And I think what people misinterpret is that the purpose of the church was not that we would have this staunch set of rules that everybody abides by, but that you would work in community to find Christ in the middle of a crisis or a situation in the conversation.
That's good.
And so, let's talk apologetics. Let's talk, what are we going to do about politics?
Yeah.
You vote for Trump, I vote for Biden. You vote for Barack, I vote.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of church I want us to have, as a church that is full of people who don't look alike, vote alike, grew up alike, worship alike.
Yeah.
And we all find a centerpiece under the bloodstained
Well, that's
banner.
good.
That's the hope.
Tell people where they can find you on the on the grams.
On the grams.
It's
WeChurchHouston.com is the website. Everything is pretty much We Church Houston.
Okay.
So you go to Instagram, it's We Church Houston. Same for Facebook. We're on YouTube.com/We Church Houston. That's the best way to find us. I say.
Okay.
Go to the website.
Well, at the end of every show, I ask the pastor to pick out a card. And whatever resonates with your spirit.
I'm picking this one because I'm a musician.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to sing.
Oh no.
You got to sing a gospel song. Just sing a little snippet of a gospel song that helps you, when you got a bad attitude.
A bad attitude.
I've had some good days.
Please. I'm gonna be honest. In my early days of Christ, it would have been probably Chronic 2000 or something like that. I'm be honest, man. Like, it probably would have been that album. I was a heavy rap fan. God, man, I'm trying to think of a good gospel song. There's a lot resonating right now. The new Chandler joint, Chandler and Elevation Point. You are more than able. Have you heard that song?
Yeah, I had.
That has been.
Is that new?
It's newer.
Oh, okay.
It's newer, like the last 4 or 5 months. But that has been my anthem.
Yes.
That's been my
I
anthem.
just love his voice too. I'm just like,
Yeah.
sing.
You talk about controversial though.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when Kirk Franklin came out with Stomp back in the 90s. Folks was ready to tear the whole church up.
I will
got
not.
salt and pepper.
Let me tell you, for real. I remember being at a church. Now because that came out 90s.
Yeah.
Right? Was it like
I feel
late
like it was.
90s?
Yeah.
I remember being in a church around 2003. And I'll never forget the pastor like, and that Kirk Franklin Stomp. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like just anti Kirk Franklin at all. Like just anything. And I was just like, man.
It was wild. I mean, it was like a real debate in churches.
It's so
It's a
crazy.
real
Yeah.
Our pastor was crazy. Our pastor was like, he made the youth department do it every Sunday. Like, we're going to do Kirk Franklin and y'all going to do Stomp. And we're going to have a rap in the whole. I remember that. He made us get out there and do that every Sunday. Yeah. And then one time he invited the gospel gangsters to come to the church. Yeah. He was really trying to set a tone.
Gospel gangsters.
They sure did. They showed up and we were all sitting there like, what is happening in our church right now? Gospel gangsters,
Pastor
man.
Devon, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I
can talk to you about another 30 minutes, but you have to come back.
Absolutely, whenever.
Come back. I'm going to have a new topic for us to talk about.
Put anything on the table.
All right.
But you got to make sure that whenever you have Matt back on, you have to make him sing a song.
You know what? I heard that he had a nice voice too.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
No.
That was a lie. Whoever told me that lied.
Yeah.
This was another episode of My Pastor Said. Be sure to subscribe on the YouTube page so that you can check out all the other episodes.